We're gonna get through this.
Floyd had some issues with his taxes for the year 2017. The government checked his tax return and found a problem, so they informed him about it on February 2nd, 2022. He claimed a big expense of about $14 million that he says he paid for legal expenses.
Imagine working for someone whose whole persona is money, 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 and you don't get paid. Well, that's exactly what it is for employees of Floyd Mayweather. Employees of his law.
Okay, stop whatever you are doing right now, because what I'm about to tell you is the kind of story that allegedly disappears from the internet the moment it starts getting too much attention. And we are talking about a man who has spent decades building an image so bulletproof.
We're gonna get through this. That's tough.
So meticulously polished that the cracks underneath have been hiding in plain sight. And today, finally, we are looking directly at those cracks because the name is Floyd Mayweather, the self-proclaimed TMT, the money team. And reportedly, just reportedly, the money situation may not be as clean as those stacks of cash he keeps fanning in front of cameras.
Imagine getting a letter from the IRS saying you owe millions in taxes. That is how Floyd Mayweather got knocked out by the IRS in 2022. Floyd had some issues with his taxes for the year 2017. The government checked his tax return and found a problem, so they informed him about it on February 2nd, 2022. He claimed a big expense of about $14 million that he says he paid for legal expenses. The government didn't agree with this expense and said it was a lie. So they said he owed about $5.5 million more in taxes because of it. They also said he had to pay an additional $1.1 million in penalties for making mistakes on his tax return. That was how Floyd got KO'd into the hot water with the tax authorities. Comment on the word free below this video and I'll send you access to a free call where you can discuss your tax situation with the most experienced attorney and get the best possible recommendations in a few minutes. Make sure you're following so you can receive the link immediately.
Breaking. But before we even get to the numbers, let me set the scene, because this story starts somewhere most people completely overlook. It starts in 2017 with a tax return that allegedly sent shockwaves through the IRS, a $14 million legal expense deduction that sources suggest raised some serious eyebrows.
Around, don't you?
Why not? You can't take it with you. I mean, there's no Brent trucks pulling up at no funeral home. So, I mean, you gotta be able to enjoy your money, but make your money work for you.
Carpe diem, seize the day, live every day.
Absolutely.
That's Floyd Mayweather's strategy.
My strategy is I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler, no matter how you look at it. Just because I may wear a diamond necklace or a big diamond ring, because another guy he wear a ring on his ring finger, and he's no better than I am. He's doing the same thing I'm doing, but he's just sweeping his dirt under the rug, and mine is out in the open.
Money doesn't make people happy, but you've got a hell of a lot of it. And are you happy?
Am I happy? Absolutely. I'm happy because my children are happy. I'm happy because my mom is happy. I'm not happy because of the money, because I was happier when I didn't have the money.
And what happened next is where the narrative begins to shift dramatically, because we are not talking about a small dispute. We are talking about figures that online speculation has placed in the range of hundreds of millions of dollars. Some reports floating a number as staggering as $500 million, and here is where it gets wild.
Mayweather just signed a deal to lease an apartment in Midtown Manhattan. He's going to be paying $100,000 per month for this place. Here's the apartment, you guys. It's got 5 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, 4,000 square feet, and the place is pretty epic, I'm not gonna lie. The description says that this is a double unit and it is a corner unit, so you got a ton of natural light in here. Do you think this place is worth $100,000 per month? Why would Floyd spend $100,000 a month on this apartment? If I had to guess, it would be a combination of owning something is just kind of a liability. Plus, I'm pretty sure whenever you rent a place versus buy a place for business purposes, you're able to write off more of that lease payment. So if I had to guess, that $100,000 per month is going to be a pretty big write-off for him based on how he plans.
Floyd himself went public, emotionally, passionately, with that signature bravado, telling the world he would overcome this, that the money team never loses. And in that moment, you have to ask yourself, why would the most financially confident man on the planet need to emotionally reassure anyone about anything? Breaking. Because here is the twist the mainstream conversation keeps glossing over. While Floyd was out there performing confidence, the IRS allegedly maintained a very different story.
He's like the Floyd Mayweather of the MMA, the UFC.
I didn't know Conor McGregor was undefeated. I didn't know that he had a reign in MMA for 20 years and undefeated, and was world champion in 5 different weight classes. That's something I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I guess you guys telling me something new. If you say he's the Floyd Mayweather of the MMA.
Well, do you know?
I mean, if you're saying he's the Floyd Mayweather of the MMA, I'm trying to find out. Have you ever made $300 million in one night? Have you ever made $100 million in one night? Have you ever made $70 million in one night? So, far as trying to say that he's the Floyd Mayweather of MMA, I mean, it's okay to just to say it, but it's not true. A living legend. You know, I gave to the sport of boxing. I gave years and years of hard work. It was blood, sweat, and tears. I had a tremendous team. I had a tremendous run. I think that it's time for Conor McGregor need to go out there and do what he do. But never compare Conor McGregor to me. That's a total disrespect.
Well,
I mean, once again, I'm an elephant. Elephant don't beef with ants. You know, elephant is so large you don't even see ants.
Reportedly stating that outstanding taxes and penalties were still very much on the table, directly contradicting the public narrative Floyd had been crafting. And this is where the layers start peeling back in ways that make the whole picture feel like something much bigger than a tax dispute. It starts to feel like a masterclass in perception management. And that is when you remember Floyd's own philosophy, stated openly on record in multiple interviews. Spend freely, live large, money is meant to move.
What lessons do you think Pacquiao and Mayweather could learn from you in terms of life away from the ring?
Well, Floyd seems to be going through some stuff like me right now, you know, like realizing no one's his friend and everybody's probably, even though I even hate to say it, because maybe everybody's kind of a little jealous of him, you know, because he is Floyd Mayweather. I know these other guys got their money, but this guy is the champ of the world. You know, it's hard to compete with that. So he's pretty big on those scales as far as on the celebrity scale. So he's gonna realize what life is all about, what friends are all about, and realize that we only have a few of them. And sometimes they're the only ones we got. They may not be the ones we want, but they're the ones we have. You know, sometimes we wanna have glorious, glamorous friends, but they don't want to.
Not to sit in an account growing quietly, which is a perspective, absolutely. But it also raises the question, when you combine allegedly disputed tax obligations with a personal belief system built around never saving, what exactly is the financial foundation underneath the penthouse lifestyle? And speaking of penthouses,
getting money is not the problem, Harry. What is the problem, for Christ's sake? Alone.
Is, you know, because, you know, he talks about his money a lot, so he compared, like, I guess his fight with Pacquiao to Anthony Joshua, and he was saying, like, you know, basically they didn't need 100,000 or 90,000 people to do X amount of dollars. You know, here, I'm gonna let you listen to it. Here's what he had to say verbatim. Here's what Floyd said about Anthony Joshua.
Talk about that. I was in the Guinness Book of World Record for breaking all the records. You didn't tell them that?
Of course you have.
For generating what billions in the sport of boxing, that for having the fastest sellout crowd.
But this,
I mean, you know, those guys done. You know, and I was watching a fight when I was at my Miami house. I was at my Miami home. I was watching a fight with Klitschko and the guy.
Here's a detail that almost nobody connects to the bigger story. Floyd reportedly does not buy these jaw-dropping luxury properties he has always seen in. He allegedly rents them. We are talking $100,000 a month apartments, ultra-luxury homes that exist in photos and social media posts and nowhere else in terms of actual ownership.
Okay.
The money team has no money.
Alright, money team has
The money team. Hard work, dedication, no pay.
Asking for, I had to deal with unsurety. I had to deal with conflict with my now wife because of me not figuring out where I'm gonna do, where am I gonna get money from to pay my bills? Like this is insanity, man. Like we've had like members come here and try to offer us like, you know, we can help you out here, we can give you money, or people gave us Chick-fil-A cards that we could try to eat food. Like this. Fairness is fair, man. You gotta pay what's due. This is about more than just like pay at this point. It's like, come on.
You're good. Thank you.
How you doing? I'm INA11 community activist and a former trainer here at Mayweather Boxing and Fitness in Hollywood. We're out here today because we're spreading awareness around inhumane conditions that are taking place within.
And some analysts have suggested this could be a strategic move, potentially offering certain financial or tax advantages. But fans online have been quick to point out that it also means the image of ownership may be just that, an image. And that realization shifts the entire visual language Floyd has built around himself, the gold, the cars, the watches, the stacks. Breaking. What if the stack is the show and the show is the point? Because here is where the story gets another complete turn. Floyd has openly admitted in conversations that did not get nearly enough attention that money does not bring true happiness, that he felt genuinely happier before fame arrived, that family means more to him than any dollar figure ever could.
Is money, 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 and you don't get paid. Well, that's exactly what it is for employees of Floyd Mayweather. Employees of his Los Angeles gym accused Floyd Mayweather of bankruptcy after failing to pay them. I mean, he's still buying stuff. Portfolio valued at $10 billion, including 18 office buildings spanning. I mean, he can do all this, but he can't pay his employees' salaries. $10 billion portfolio, 18 office buildings spanning 10 million square feet. Like what? Another deal he finalized with a 20 million property in Manhattan. Financial troubles. Despite these high-profile purchases, allegations of unpaid wages at Mayweather's Los Angeles, employees claim that they haven't received paychecks, prompting a public protest outside the facility on Highland Avenue. One protester held a sign accusing Mayweather of modern-day slavery, while another noted that the money team has no money. Even if you work for a different company and if you ain't getting paid, you're scared to show up and say something because you know how businesses do. They silence you and they fire you. The employees alleged violations of California Labor Code 210, which mandates penalties for late wages. First-time violations can include fines between $100 to $200 and unpaid wages beyond the 30 days entitled work to a full day pay for every day delayed. That is crazy. Money team ain't got no money. Apparently it's not the first time too. They had one in Elk Grove and it closed down because the landlord sued for a non-payment of $30,000 in rent. Now the LA gym facing closure. Employees are questioning whether Mayweather himself is aware of the financial.
And you have to sit with that for a second, because this is the same man who built an entire brand identity around being the money team, who named his promotional company Money Mayweather Productions, who wore a mink coat to a press conference just to make a point about wealth. And yet privately, reportedly, the human being underneath all of that performance has suggested the wealth itself is hollow, which makes everything feel less like a flex and more like a coping mechanism. And then, just as you are processing that, Mike Tyson enters the conversation. And
Money Mayweather up until recently didn't have any money. So Floyd is the highest earning athlete in his career, making over $1.1 billion. And after making a killing, he ended up retiring in 2017. However, he dug himself into a hole after making super lavish purchases like this LA mansion. It was so bad that he actually owed $22.2 million to the IRS, which made him have to come out of retirement to pay that back. Like and follow for more.
Mayweather's name recently came up in an unexpected lawsuit involving stolen jewelry. Although it wasn't proven that he personally committed the theft, being linked to the case raised serious concerns. Accusations like these add fuel to the fire of critics who believe he's trying to maintain a lifestyle that may no longer be affordable. It also weakened his image as a successful businessman, especially when combined with other financial troubles.
So have you heard about the $4 million RICO lawsuit that Floyd Mayweather and Tiger is being hit with? Wow. So apparently it's over some stolen jewelry and, or at least allegedly. And the entire story is pretty crazy. And the fact that they're calling her the Rico was pretty wild as well. Because apparently there was some type of, at least what is being alleged, some type of scheme set up and ran by these celebrities in order to get away with taking free jewelry off of jewelers. So
Iron Mike does not mince words, suggesting in various interviews that Floyd's ego and his money-focused persona may be isolating him, distorting his perspective, creating a version of reality that only Floyd can fully see from inside. And that kind of criticism from someone who has lived the exact same rise, fall, and complicated aftermath of boxing superstardom hits differently than any tabloid headline.
Assets or luxury items under business entities. This allows them to pay less tax while also having protection against lawsuits personally. In this case, Tyga and Floyd used a watch broker and some upfront cash to make the deal go through. But as the days passed, no payment was made on the balance that was due, and even their agent admitted they owed $4 million. So what these two did is they signed and paid using a business, and then before paying the full amount, gifted it to themselves on behalf of the business that bought it. Therefore, the broker can't go after Floyd or Tyga because they didn't buy it from them personally. A business that they may control bought it and then gifted it to them, but in this sense is completely separate. But what they did is how the rich get richer. Us in our daily lives have no protection from lawsuits, but as soon as you use a business, the laws completely change. So I'm not saying you should do this or that they'll even get away with this, but it's definitely an interesting way.
Because Tyson knows what it looks like when the image consumes the person, and he is apparently watching it happen in real time. But wait, because we are not even to the part that allegedly started showing up in legal filings and employee testimonies, because reports began emerging that workers at Mayweather's gym were protesting outside over allegedly unpaid wages, which, if you think about that image for even a second, is one of the most jarring visual contradictions imaginable. People holding signs outside a gym that bears the name of a man who built his entire legacy on the idea that the money never stops flowing. And these were not anonymous accusations. These were reportedly documented disputes that led to actual protests. And the reputational damage to Floyd as a businessman, not just a boxer, was described by those covering it as significant and lasting. And then, as if that were not enough texture for one story, additional reports began surfacing about unpaid rent disputes, business disagreements, and various legal situations that collectively painted a portrait of financial management that online commentators described as, at minimum, chaotic. And here's the part that fans of the official narrative will push back on hardest, because Floyd is also claimed in various public appearances to have made massive real estate investments, a portfolio that would suggest long-term planning and serious financial strategy. But critics and financial observers have publicly questioned these claims, asking for receipts that, at least publicly, have not fully materialized. Breaking. And by this point in the story, you might think we have reached the bottom of the iceberg, but we have not, because there is reportedly a whole chapter involving jewelry, luxury goods, business ventures that generated controversy rather than revenue, and a pattern that observers suggest reveals a man in a constant negotiation between the person he wants to be and the character he has been performing for 20-plus years. And then there is the Conor McGregor dimension, which Floyd reportedly takes very personally, shutting down any and all comparisons with a ferocity that goes well beyond competitive pride, insisting on the unmatched nature of his achievements and earnings, which, if everything we have just walked through is even half accurate, raises a quietly devastating question about what it means to be the best and what it costs to insist on it publicly forever. And so here is the final turn, the one that reframes this entire story from the beginning. What if Floyd Mayweather is not a cautionary tale about money mismanagement? What if he is something far more complicated? A man who understood better than almost anyone in history how to monetize an image, who perhaps got so deep inside the character that the character became the trap, who publicly built the most expensive lifestyle in sports entertainment. Not entirely because he could afford it, but because the lifestyle itself was the product, the brand, the thing being sold to the world. And if that is true, then the real story is not about tax disputes or unpaid wages or rented penthouses. The real story is about what happens when the performance never gets to end, when the curtain never comes down, when TMT is not just a slogan but the only identity left. So here's the question I want you to sit with and drop in the comments below. Is Floyd Mayweather the greatest financial mind boxing ever produced? Or is he the greatest financial illusion boxing ever sold? Because allegedly, reportedly, according to sources and online speculation, and the very words he has spoken himself, the answer might be both. And that is the most Floyd Mayweather thing possible.